My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and I'm excited to be back with you for this week's live. This week I've got a free class for you featuring the Citrus Blooms bundle from the annual catalog. However, throughout the video, I'm going to share some things that you can look for in your collection so that you don't feel like you need to have this to take inspiration from the cards that I'm going to share. All right, so before we get started, I wanted to share a couple things that are happening. Today is the last day to take advantage of the starter kit special. So this goes until May 31st, which is today. And sorry, I'm gonna skip that. Okay. All right, so it goes until today, and you can take advantage of this special by purchasing the starter kit, which is completely customizable. You can choose anything that can be purchased from the annual catalog or from what's available online, whether it's online exclusives, the kits collection, clearance rack, anything. You can make up your starter kit from anything that you can purchase. And you get to choose $165 worth of product. You only pay $135, no shipping, no GST. And in addition to that $165 worth of product, you'll get $111.75 added value to your kit. So that includes these 4 items. So there's Stampin' Write markers, there's a mixed pack of the in-color cardstock, all 5 in-color ink pads, and some in-color 6x6 DSP. So it's a fabulous deal. Today's the last day. There is a link in the description below where you can find out where you can join my Canadian team. We would love to have you. We have demonstrators of all different types. Many of them are discount demonstrators. So if you have a long wish list, this really is the best deal for you. All right, next up, the deadline is coming up for the summer kickoff crop, which will be on June 15th. It is an all-day crop from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you've got lots of projects on your to-do list or kits that you've started that you maybe want to finish off, this is a great opportunity to get some dedicated crafting time. If you can't do the whole day, there are 2 classes that you can participate in. You can choose one or the other. There is a better deal if you are a cropper and participate in the classes. So there's a scrapbook layout class. Let me see if I can find it, and I'll share a little peek. Okay, so it's a 2-page scrapbook layout class, perfect for some summer fun photos. So that's the scrapbook layout class that we'll do, and then there is a card class as well. It's called the Tune In card class, and there are to-go options available for all of these. So if you are not close to me and can't participate but would like to, those options are available. So you can find that more information under the events page on my website. All right, now let's talk about what we're using today, or what I'm going to use. So I am using products from the Mediterranean Blooms suite, which can be found on pages 34 and 35 of the annual catalog. You can see that this has a very Mediterranean feel to it. I absolutely love it. It's so pretty. So the Citrus Blooms bundle, that's really what we're going to focus on today. So it's got some great orange images here, some fun greetings, a background, and a couple little florals, and then the dies. So these 2 dies will obviously cut out these 2 images. The flowers will cut out the flowers. Then there's some leaves and some smaller flowers. But this is the star of the show. So I will show you how you can use those as well. And then there's the beautiful patterned paper. So this patterned paper, you can see one side is kind of it's like a citrus theme. So we've got some lemons, we've got some oranges. These ones need to be fussy cut. These ones can be die cut. And then there's some that are closer together, a little bit busier pattern. There's the small flowers, and then there's lemons and oranges together, and then a smaller patterned orange, or lemons. And then we flip it over, and again, here is that Mediterranean. It just feels like tiles, don't you think? Looks like tiles. So this blue, shades of blue and white, so, so pretty. All right, so those are the products that we're going to be using. And by the way, this is also what Laura and I are using for this month's class to go. You can find more information at the link in the description below if you're looking for that. The tutorial, for those of you who live outside of Canada, the tutorial is not yet posted. It will come, I'm hoping, by the end of today, if not tomorrow. All right, okay. So you will be able to find all of these measurements on in today's blog post. After I film this video, it will go live shortly after. I just need to link the video. So don't worry about scrambling to write down the measurements, okay? I just need to grab a scrap piece of paper. Okay. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of navy and we're going to stamp this little background stamp all over it. And we're going to use Night of Navy ink. So we're doing tone-on-tone stamping. Another way to get tone-on-tone stamping, if you don't have all the ink colors, is you can use Versamark ink. That is a watermark ink, so it's a little bit lighter than using the ink color, but it's still noticeable. So if you're using a cardstock color that maybe you don't own the ink pad to, that is a great option. So I'm just kind of stamping all over. And I also did some off of the page as well, so it looks like pre-patterned paper cut down to the size that I wanted it. All right. Okay, so we can slide this out of the way. Now we are going to take this and we're going to distress it. This is my current favorite technique. I seem to do this on everything. I just love how it looks. It gives your projects added texture without having to have extra supplies or, you know, do anything fancy to. It's quick, it's easy, and it adds a lot to a card or a project, any project really, because I do it a lot for scrapbooking as well. All right, so it looks like that. Then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to kind of roll up this corner. All right. So far, you can use any stamp to create your background. So it doesn't matter what you have. If you don't have this bundle and you want to recreate this card, just choose any kind of little background stamp. So it can be something like this. It could be maybe some smaller flowers. There's so many different things that I'm sure that you have in your collection that you could use. So we're just going to attach this to a piece of Daffodil Delight. I absolutely love this color, Daffodil Delight, color combination, Daffodil Delight and Night of Navy. I don't use a lot of yellows when I craft, and definitely not a lot of Daffodil Delight. Lemon Lolly, I do like that color because it's a little bit more subtle, but not a whole lot of Daffodil Delight. It is a very bright color, but combined with the navy, I just love it. All right, now we're going to attach this to our card base, which is a piece of Night of Navy. Just a standard size card. That's going to go in there. So see how that yellow just really makes that navy pop off the page like that? All right, next up, what I've done here, I've got a circle that has been cut from that Mediterranean Blooms DSP. And I die cut it using the largest circle from the Stylish Shapes dies. So this circle measures, I think it's about 3 1/4 inches, between 3 and 3 1/4 inches. So if you don't have these dies, maybe you've got other circle dies that you can use, or maybe a circle punch. So you just want something a little bit larger. And then from the patterned paper, I have cut out, let me grab this pattern. So I've cut out one of these, and then also don't discount around the edges. So I went ahead and I cut this piece out as well, because those pieces are great for the inside of your cards. So I like to not waste anything. I like to try to use up as much as I can. So if you don't have pattern paper where you can fussy cut like a larger image from, look to your stamps. Maybe you've got a larger floral stamp that you can stamp, color in, and then die cut, or fussy cut. All right, so I'm sure you've got larger images in your collection that you can use. Okay, so now we're gonna adhere this. This is gonna go on flat. Like this. I'm going to put it a little closer to the top and then centered from side to side. All right. And then we're going to take a piece of our peach pie bordered ribbon, and we're going to do one of my favorite things that I like to do with ribbon. I'm just going to slit up the side. So I'm slicing or cutting to the left of the stitches. So there is stitching on both sides, and that stitching is kind of what is holding all the fibers together. So I'm cutting that off so that I can pull some of the fibers to use. I love to add baker's twine, linen thread, little fibers like this to my projects. I feel like it just adds so much to your projects, and it's so simple to do, and it doesn't have to be bulky. So this piece I'm going to set aside. You don't want to throw that away because there are uses for that as well, but I'm looking for something a little bit finer for this one. So now I'm just going to take a few fibers and so I've got, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 fibers here, and I'm going to tie a big bow, and you'll see what I mean by a big bow in a minute here. Trying to grab all of the, okay, that didn't work very well. Okay, let's try this again. It helps if you can kind of make sure all of them go, like if you can kind of put them tight like that. If some of them get loose, then that can cause some grief. So I'm trying to see how they're all together there. I want to pull all of them together through that loop. Okay, and then I want to make a big bow. So I want my loops to be quite large so that it looks something like that. Okay, and then we're going to kind of position this. That's going to go on there like that. So I'm going to put just a little drop of multi-purpose glue right in the center, and then pop that on there. We're going to add some dimensionals to the back of our lemons. Peel off the backing. And then this is going to go on here like this. So I want to make sure that I can see the twine that I added on there. All right, so that's going to go on there like that. The other thing that I did in advance is I took some white cardstock and I die cut 3 leaves. So I used this largest one and then the 2 smaller ones. So I die cut those from some white cardstock. Again, just look through your dies and see what you have for leaves that you could use to die cut. I actually love the size and shape of these leaves. I think I will be combining these leaves with lots of other stamps in my collection. Just feel like they're a great size and I love the shape of them. All right, so I'm just going to tuck those in just to give our focal point a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more full. All right, so we'll tuck those in there, and then this one down here. Okay, and then the last thing for the outside of our card is I'm going to take some of these opal rounds. These are part of the Mediterranean Bloom Suite. However, they are not available at the moment. So they've sold out. They are due back in, but I don't think they're due back in until early July. I think really early July. So I'm just going to take some of these navy ones. You could use, if you've got navy ones in other color and other collections, you could use those. You could color them using your Stampin' Blends if you wanted them to be navy, but you don't have any navy dots. So lots of options there. I also think that gold would look really, really nice with this as well. All right, so there is the outside of our card. And then the inside, I had this scrap of a daffodil cardstock. So I'm just going to take this, add a little bit of glue to the top, position this on here like that, and then trim off the excess. And then this piece, I'm going to put down the side here. And then we can add that to the inside of our card, and card number 1 is done. So pretty. I chose to not put a greeting on this card. I always like to have cards without greetings on them so that when I need a card, I have a bunch to choose from that I could just quickly add a greeting. And I would probably add something that's longer and narrower, probably just right over top here, or I would even just limit it to stamping on the inside. All right, so there is card number 1. So pretty, love that color combination. Okay, let me just get this garbage out of the way here. Okay, we'll set that one aside. And then we're gonna bring in our next card. Okay, so you don't need to see that just yet. All right, so we are gonna bring in our die cutting machine, and remember how I said that this was the star of the show. These dies are incredible. Now, if you don't have this die set, have a look in your collection and see what else you have that you could use as a border. So maybe you could use, maybe you've got some layering rectangles that you could use. You could use a couple of those to create a border, or maybe you have something else that has a detailed leafy border around the edges, okay? So for this particular step, we're going to use these 2 dies, and I'm going to grab my die cutting machine. With my very well loved plates. Okay, let's put the lid on this. I always like to keep the lid on just so that it doesn't dry out. Okay, so we're gonna put our cardstock down first. Again, you can find all the measurements for the pieces that I'm using in today's blog post. And I'm gonna put both dies down at the same time. I am going to use some washi tape to make sure that it holds in place. And there goes the garbage truck. Every Friday during my lives. All right, okay. So now what you want to do is you want to run them both through at the same time. It's easier to do it this way. And you want to make sure that you have an even border around the edges. So not for this outside piece, but an even spacing between the 2 dies. So I'm just going to use washi tape there. 1 piece of washi tape should be fine. And then I'm going to put this over top and pass it through. Now, because this is a more detailed die, I'm going to pass it through twice. So once going that way, and then I'm just going to bring it back. All right, so now I'm going to take this off. This piece you could use, that could be a really nice frame on a different project. We're not going to use it today. And then the other thing is this centerpiece, there's still lots of real estate in here. Just so that you know, 3 of these leaves will fit in here. So I've used the centerpieces from several cards that I've created, and I've die cut leaves from that. So that you don't want to throw away either. So I'm just going to take this washi tape off, and then we'll peel this off, and then this off, and look at that. So that, you can just take your die brush, you can brush that out. I've got a few pieces left in here. I'm just going to use my paper piercing tool. I could have used my die brush. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to the die brush. Anybody else find that they're like that? I don't know. I never use my die brush. I'd rather just take my paper piercing tool and poke out those little pieces. And look how pretty that is. Such a gorgeous border. I should point out to you guys that starting June 5th, Stampin' Up! Has announced that they will have a stamp and die promotion. So stamp and die bundle promotion. So normally when you purchase a bundle, so this is considered a bundle and it's considered a stamp and die bundle. So you get the stamp set and then there's coordinating dies. And in the first publication that it's released in, you can always save 10%. So for the month of June, any of our stamp and die bundles, you can save an extra 10%. So it's like getting 20% off, which is a fabulous deal. But it doesn't start until June 5th. So I wanted to point that out. Okay, so this is going to go on here like this, but I wanted to add a little bit of color in the background. So I am going to bring in some Peach Pie ink, which is one of our new in colors, and my blending brush. And I always like to tap off on some scrap paper first. And then I always like to start where my focal point's going to go, so that if I do get a harsh mark, it's going to get covered over. And it's easier to do this with a very light hand. This is a really light color, so it's going to go on really light, but it's better to add layers of ink than to go on with a harsh hand and not be able to take that ink off. So really light hand, and you can rate ink and add as many layers as you want to make it as dark as you want. Okay, I'm just gonna see. I think that's good. All right, I'm happy with that. Now I want to add a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to choose these two little flowers that are in this kit, and I'm going to kind of position this so that I have an idea of where my image is going to go. I'll do one more there. Okay, we'll start with that. If I need to add some more, I can add some more. All right. Now we're going to do some more stamping. All right, so here you can see that I've gone ahead and I've die cut the leaves. So I've got 3 leaves, again the same leaves as I used for the first card, so the largest one and then the 2 smaller ones. And I'm going to bring in my Memento ink and this larger, or I guess it's the smaller orange stamp. And because this is a larger stamp, I like to flip it over upside down and ink like this. I find I have a little bit more control. So we're going to stamp this on here. And then we're also going to take the hello from this stamp set and we're going to stamp it down here. All right, now we're going to color in. So I've got several different colors. Now I'm choosing to color in using Stampin' Blends. If you don't have Stampin' Blends, or if you prefer to color in a different way, then you might just want to, you might need to stamp in a different ink. So Memento ink is best to stamp with blends. But if you're watercoloring, so if you're using the water painters or the watercolor pencils and a blender pen, then StazOn ink is the best choice for that. So just keep that in mind when you're stamping your image. Think about how you're going to color in your image, okay? And again, if you don't have this stamp set, just look for a larger image that you've got that you can color in. It could be anything. It could be flowers. It could be, maybe you've got a big leaf that you want to use. Maybe you've got some patterned paper that has some big floral clusters on it that you could fussy cut. So there's lots of things that I'm sure that you've got in your collection that you could use in place of this. All right. Okay, so the colors that I've pulled out, I have got dark pumpkin pie. I've got the peach pie blend combo, daffodil combo, daffodil delight, and old olive combo. Okay, so I'm going to start by coloring in with dark petal pink. I'm just going to add just a little bit of detail. So I'll bring this up a little closer so that you guys can see. So just a tiny little bit of detail. And then I'm going to take the dark peach pie. And, oh, you know what I forgot to do? Okay, I want to do... So I'm adding just a little bit to each of those leaves. And then I'm going to bring in the dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to go along the base. And I'll bring this up a little closer for you guys to see. So at the base of each of these petals, and a little bit on these. So I filled in a little bit. It doesn't look so pretty, but that's okay. It'll turn out in the end. Okay, and then I'm going to take my dark peach pie, and I'm going to color the rest of the center. And boy, it's windy here today. The rest of the centers, and then I'm going to take my light daffodil and color in the rest of the flowers. Or rest of the petals, sorry. So I am no expert in coloring with blends. I just like to play. I love our blends. Our blends are alcohol markers, and I just love how vibrant the colors are. And I love to play around with different color combinations and just have fun with them. So there's the flowers colored in. Now we're going to do the leaves. So what I did was I took my dark old olive and I did the branch, which is here. The great thing about Stampin' Blends is there really is no right or wrong way. Just do what works for you. Play around with them and you'll figure out what kind of look you like, and then just go with that. So I'm just adding a little bit of dark where the veins of the leaves are, and at the base of each leaf. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go up the side here, because where that leaf is, it's probably creating a little shadow on the other leaf. And then I'm going to take my light and I'm just going to color in the rest of the leaves. Okay, and I'm not going to color them all in because we'll sit here forever. But I'll bring those up. Oh, let's finish this one. I'll bring them up a little bit closer for you guys to see kind of what the end result is. So it looks like that. Okay, and now we're going to do our orange. So this is where we're going to bring back our dark pumpkin pie. And I'm going to go around this side, And then where these dots are, and then up around the top, and then where these dots are. And I'll just add a little bit in here. And then I'm going to come in with some dark peach pie. And I'm going to go just a little bit further in. So I'm going to go over the dark so that it blends it. And I'm going to bring it a little bit further in. And I'm going kind of in a circular motion. And I'll add a little bit in the center. And by going over top of the dark, it helps blend those two shades. And then I'm going to come in with my light peach pie and color in the rest. And again, I'm going over those colors that I've already done because that helps smooth out that transition. And I am going to leave a little bit of white. And then there's the orange. Okay, and then there is a coordinating die that will cut this out. So this die here will cut it out. And then when you cut that out, you'll get something that looks like that. All right, the other thing that I did, this hello that we stamped, I did fussy cut that as well. All right, so now we've got the elements for our card. We can go ahead and start assembling. Okay, we're gonna stick this down first. This is where these little glue bottles come in really handy. So because they're so fine, you can add just a little bit of glue around the edges. And I'm going to add a little bit just to some of the leaves here. You don't need a lot. And then we're going to center this on our card so that we've got a relatively even border, top and bottom and side to side. Okay, I'm just going to flip this over. Okay. Now for our focal point, I'm going to take a little bit of adhesive. So I've got, this is Seal Plus, and that's just because I've run out of Seal. It doesn't have to be Seal Plus. Put a little bit of adhesive there, and then I'm going to take some twine, and I'm going to do almost like a figure 8. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go around and do a little loop. So this gives a similar look to the bow that we tied last time, except I wanted multiple loops for this one. And I'm varying the sizes. So you can see this one's a little taller, this one's a little shorter. And then we'll trim it off. So it looks kind of like that. Then we'll add some dimensionals to the back of our orange. So if you are loving this collection, or maybe you already own this collection and would like additional ideas, like I said towards the beginning of the video, Laura and I are using this for this month's Class to Go. All the details are up on my blog. There is a link in the description where you can find more information. Okay, so that's going to go on there like that. And the deadline to register for that is I believe it's June 9th. But if you want to purchase the bundle, make sure that you wait until June 5th, because that's when the sale starts and you'll save an extra 10%. Okay, so then I'm just tucking these leaves in. Just fills it out a little bit. I will share a little peek at 3 of the cards that we're making for this month's class towards the end of the video, so you can stick around for that. All right, and then our little hello. This is such a tiny little hello. this is going to go on here. Just like that. And then I felt like I wanted to do just a little something else. So this is another thing that I've discovered that I really like to do. I like to take my black Stampin' Write marker, it's not always black though, and just add little trios of dots. That's what I call them anyways. So 3 little dots here and there. And just a few of them. And it's just a great way to kind of step up your card a little bit. All right, and then for the inside, I don't think I actually did anything on the inside of my sample, but we can take some of these flowers and stamp a few flowers. I'll do some of the little ones, and then there we go. So quick and easy way to dress up the inside of your card. All right. So there is card number 2. We have one more card to do here that I'm going to share with you. All right, this time we are going to do, our card base is going to be green. And let me share kind of what I've done here. Okay, so card base is garden green. We're going to use some lemon lolly to really make those lemons pop up there. Like, look at this color combination. So pretty. Okay, and then I've got a couple scraps here. This is for the inside. And then this is that label shape that I used on the last card. So this one, except I only cut about half of it. It might be a little bit more than half. Yeah, a little bit more than half. I'll measure it in a minute because we've got to score it. And then I also cut this. This is from the Nested Essentials dies. So it is the second largest or second smallest rectangle. And again, if you don't have these dies, any label shape will work for what we're going to use for this. Any pattern paper and any label shape will work. You just want the label shape because this is going to layer on top of this. So you want it to make sure, it fits on whatever size label that you're using. And then the other thing that I did was I cut from some Granny Apple Green, I cut this center die. So this die here, I cut that out of some Granny Apple Green. And then on one of the patterned papers, actually it's this pattern paper here, there are these little flowers and there are dies that will cut them out. I just fussy cut them. Sometimes I find it easier just to fussy cut, but you can die cut those out, and I've got 3 of those as well. All right, so what we're gonna do is we are gonna bring in our scoring, our paper trimmer so that we can score. And we kind of want to see, this is gonna be like a little flap. So I'm just gonna position this on here like this, and I'm gonna see about how far in I want that label shape to go. So let's see, maybe I'll score it at 3/4 of an inch. So this is about 3 1/4. So from this side to this side, it's about 3 1/4 inches, and I'm going to score it at 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it so it's straight. It's not very straight. All right. Now we're going to fold along this score line. We're going to use our bone folder, make it nice and crisp. I'm actually going to fold it in both directions. All right. And then we're going to start assembling. So we're going to add our pattern paper to our lemon lolly layer. And that is just, we've got about a 1/16 of an inch border. I love having a variety of sizes of borders. And we'll flip it around so it's not upside down. And let's fold our card base first. Okay, we'll make sure our lemons are going the right way. And then we'll put that on. See how that looks? Where you have that little bit of a wider green and then a really narrow yellow border. I love that. Okay, so that's gonna go on there. And then this is gonna be our inside piece. So we're gonna work on this next. We're gonna add this lemon lolly, which is just a scrap from cutting this piece. We're gonna add that on here and trim it down. And then this was also a scrap piece, and I know it should go this way, but that's okay. We're gonna use it this way. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue down the side. I don't think anybody will notice. Actually, let's move it up so that we have that narrower border of the lemon lolly. Okay, we'll just make sure it's straight, and then we can trim off that excess. Okay, and then before we stick this in, what we're gonna do is we're going to, hang on, let me think about this here. Okay, what we need to do is we need to put this down first, and this needs to be lined up with the edge of your card base. So what I like to do is I like to position this where I want it. So I've got my glue on there. So if you want it in the center, you can position it here. I want it a little bit lower to the bottom. So I'm just going to position this on here, make sure it's right snug against the edge of the card. And then I'm going to close my card. So now I've got this flap. Okay, so now we're going to take this piece and we can add this over top, and that will cover up that seam. Okay, so now we've got a little flap. Now it's, the more you use it, the more it will sit flatter. You could also add a little magnet on there. You could also do something, you could put this here so that this kind of lifts underneath. I liked this on here. You'll see what it looks like in a minute. So there's different ways that you can do this. So if this bothers you, having this flap that kind of goes up like this, then just strategically position your focal point so that you can kind of tuck this underneath. So you can pop this up on a dimensionals, and then this would just kind of slide underneath of it. I'm not going to do that because this doesn't bother me. All right. So I'm going to use, actually, I'm just going to use a little bit of seal. I'm going to put this down on here. And again, if you don't have a big leaf stamp or a big leaf die like this, just cut several leaves. You just want to make it nice and full. Okay, so that's going to go on there. And then I needed a birthday card for my son's girlfriend's birthday was earlier this week, and we're celebrating with her on Sunday. And so I had decorated a gift bag, which I don't have here to show you, but I used this pattern paper to decorate a gift bag. So I wanted to make her a card to match. And there's no birthday greetings in here. So I'm pulling in a different greeting set for this card. I'm going to use the Unbounded Love stamp set. And I'm going to use on the outside, I'm going to use Just For You. And then on the inside, I'm going to use Happy Birthday. Okay, so on this piece, we're going to stamp Just For You. We're going to use some Memento ink. And I'm going to stamp it right in the middle. And then I'm going to ink up the Happy Birthday, and I'm going to stamp the Happy Birthday on the inside. Okay. All right. So now we've got our greetings done. Now we can finish assembling. I'm just going to put the lid on this. We're going to add a little bit more seal on the top of this. if it'll roll on over top of, there we go. And then again, we're going to take some twine. Like I said, I have a hard time creating a project without twine on it. I just love the look. We're going to do that figure 8 loop. Varying the sizes. And then we'll trim it off. And then this is going to get popped up using dimensionals. Yes, I agree, Celine. This is a great color combination for summer projects. So pretty. All right, so that's going to go right in the middle. And then I felt like it needed just a little something else. So that's where these flowers come into play. So I'm just going to take my fingers and kind of curl them up a little bit. And just add a little drop of multi-purpose glue behind, and we're going to add a few of these little flowers on here. So this collection, we're actually taking our kids on a Mediterranean cruise, our kids and their significant others, next year, next May. And I feel like this collection, I need to buy an extra package of paper because I think it's going to be fabulous for doing some scrapbook layouts to document our trip. All right, and then I'm going to finish it off with some of these dots. And this time I'm going to use some yellow ones this time. And there we go. So now I've got this fun birthday card to go along with the gift bag that I made for her. And it's a little bit of a, kind of a fun fold. It's got that fun little flap on it. So let me bring in the rest, or the other two cards that we made. So we made this one, and that one. So 3 beautiful cards using the Citrus Blooms bundle. And then if you participate in this month's Class to Go, you'll get 6 more card ideas, and here are 3 of them. So there's this one here, and then this one here. So 3 more card ideas. And then I also received a couple swaps using this, so I thought I would share those as well. So this one here, so a congratulations card, and she used an embossing folder in the back. And then this one here. So pretty. So many ideas using the Citrus Blooms bundle. And like I said, if you want more information on this month's Class to Go, you can just check the description of this video. You'll find all the information there. And thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope you guys enjoyed these card ideas. And I will see you next week. Have a fabulous weekend. Bye, guys.